Welcome back to Real Savant, where we bring you recaps of the most awesome movies and TV shows. From action, to horror, to comedy, to something the family will enjoy. We have something for everyone. Today, we bring you Oppenheimer, where we follow the story of American scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and his role in the development of the atomic bomb. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. The movie commences in 1954 with a security hearing for the well-known physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. It then shifts through various years, portraying Admiral Lewis Strauss and his aide opposing Oppenheimer during a Senate hearing. Strauss suspects Oppenheimer of communist ties and harbors a personal grudge dating back to their encounter in 1947. During that meeting, Strauss had attempted to recruit Oppenheimer to a position at Princeton, but the latter made a condescending remark about Strauss's background as a shoe salesman. Later, Strauss observes as Oppenheimer converses with Albert Einstein. When Strauss attempts to greet Einstein, the latter doesn't acknowledge him, leading Strauss to believe that Oppenheimer may have spoken unfavorably about him to Einstein in 1924. The narrative then shifts to Oppenheimer's early days as a physics student at Cambridge under Patrick Blackett. Despite his desire to attend a lecture by Niels Bohr, Blackett insists that Oppenheimer stay behind to complete a project. In an act of defiance, Oppenheimer injects an apple on Blackett's desk with potassium cyanide before discreetly slipping away to attend Bohr's lecture. The following day, Oppenheimer personally encounters Bohr and prevents him from consuming the poisoned apple. Bohr is impressed by Oppenheimer's knowledge and research, urging him to pursue further education in an environment where he feels less restricted. Subsequently, Oppenheimer enrolls at the University of Nottingham, where he collaborates with Isidore Rabi to pursue his Ph.D. During this time, they encounter the esteemed theoretical physicist Werner Heisenberg, whom Oppenheimer greatly admires for his influence on his work. Eventually, Oppenheimer returns to the United States and begins teaching at Berkeley, where his colleagues, including Nobel Prize winner Ernest Lawrence, affectionately refer to him as Oppie. Initially, Oppenheimer starts his lectures with just one student, Giovanni Lomanitz. However, as time progresses, his class grows significantly larger and more comprehensive. Subsequently, Oppenheimer attends a Communist Party gathering in the company of his younger brother, Frank, and his girlfriend. At the event, Oppenheimer makes the acquaintance of Hawkins Chevalier and later engages in conversation with Jean Taplock before they become intimate. Following their encounter, Jean peruses the books on Oppenheimer's shelf and selects one in Sanskrit, asking him to translate. The text reads, "And now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Eventually, Oppenheimer, along with Frank and Lawrence, heads to a ranch in Los Alamos. Frank and his girlfriend formally become members of the Communist Party, a decision that Oppenheimer discourages, even though his own left-leaning political stance raises eyebrows. Oppenheimer expresses support for the Spanish Revolution, a position questioned by Lawrence. Additionally, he joins the Federation of Architects, Engineers, Chemists, and Technicians, heightening concerns among others that Oppenheimer may be a communist sympathizer. During an outing with Jean, one of Oppenheimer's students, Luis Alvarez reacts intensely to the news that the Germans have successfully split the uranium nucleus through nuclear fission by bombarding neutrons. Subsequently, at a gathering with the FAECT, Oppenheimer receives news of Hitler's invasion of Poland. In the course of events, he encounters Kitty, a member of the Communist Party, who is already in a struggling marriage. After Kitty separates from her husband, she embarks on a relationship with Oppenheimer, eventually marrying him and becoming pregnant. Oppenheimer then faces the difficult task of ending things with Jean, who is upset despite her earlier attempts to convey that she did not wish to continue the affair. After Kitty gives birth to a son named Peter, she struggles with alcoholism. The couple decides to leave Peter in the care of Chevalier while they embark on a trip. Meanwhile, at the university, General Leslie Groves and Lieutenant Colonel Kenneth Nichols approach Oppenheimer to recruit him as the director of the Manhattan Project, aimed at developing an atomic bomb during World War II. Oppenheimer takes on the task and starts recruiting other scientists, including Richard Feynman, Kenneth Bainbridge, Seth Nettermeyer, Lily Hornick, as well as Lomanitz and Alvarez. They establish their operations in Los Alamos, where they construct a simulated town near the testing site. Edward Teller is enlisted, and upon scrutinizing the schematics and components of the bomb, Oppenheimer and his colleagues come to a horrifying realization. In the wrong hands, a hydrogen bomb, even more potent than the atomic bomb, could be developed, potentially triggering a chain reaction with catastrophic global consequences. After further research, the likelihood of such a scenario is significantly diminished, nearly reducing the chances to zero. In a subsequent flash-forward, Oppenheimer is depicted establishing a program for the hydrogen bomb in collaboration with the Atomic Energy Commission. The men convene with their colleagues following the successful testing of the atomic bomb by the Soviet Union. Strauss and Nichols, both staunch anti-communists, entertained the idea that several communists had been involved in the Manhattan Project. In the subsequent security hearing, Oppenheimer's association with Chevalier becomes a focal point as he attempted to gather information for the Russians. A treasonous act. Lomanitz faces scrutiny due to his engagement in left-wing politics, which paints him as a potential risk. The complexity of the situation is further heightened during Oppenheimer's tenure on the project when he encounters Colonel Boris Pash, the project's head of security, who personally targets individuals with communist affiliations. Anti-communist lawyer William Borden presents an indictment against Oppenheimer during the hearing. Oppenheimer's relationship with Jean is scrutinized, with flashbacks revealing the continuation of their affair. In the midst of the proceedings, Oppenheimer openly acknowledges his adultery, with Kitty present in the room. Struggling with the revelation, Kitty envisions Jean engaging in intimate acts with her husband in 1949. Tragically, Jean's story takes a dark turn as she commits suicide through an overdose and drowning in the bathtub. However, a fleeting glimpse suggests a hand possibly forcing her head into the water, raising suspicions that Jean's death might have been orchestrated to appear as a suicide. In the woods, Kitty discovers Oppenheimer experiencing a breakdown over distressing news, urging him to gather himself. Meanwhile, amidst the project's development, a boy who had been stranded in Europe due to Nazi occupation arrives at Los Alamos and contributes to the project alongside Oppenheimer and Teller. Bohr cautions Oppenheimer, expressing concern that they are granting mankind the power to self-destruct. Even after Hitler's demise, the team persists in their project. Aware that the Japanese are continuing their wartime efforts, the team conducts numerous bomb tests, refining their weapon over time, and prepares for the crucial Trinity test, as referred to by Oppenheimer. As everyone gathers at a safe distance in the night, anticipating the outcome, the bomb detonates, generating a powerful mushroom cloud and a subsequent shockwave. Following the explosion, Oppenheimer echoes the phrase, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The team celebrates their success. However, as President Harry Truman proceeds to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the weight of the resulting casualties begins to burden Oppenheimer's conscience. In a speech to the team, where everyone cheers him on, Oppenheimer envisions the devastating effects of the bomb incinerating everyone. Subsequently, Oppenheimer meets Truman, who initially congratulates him on the bomb's development. However, when Oppenheimer admits to having blood on his own hands, Truman dismisses him, labeling him a wuss. Years later, around the time of the Senate hearing, Strauss confides in his aide, revealing that Frank was blacklisted from every university due to his communist affiliation. Lomanitz found employment working on a railroad, and Chevalier went into exile. Oppenheimer, seeking an arms control program instead of one for the hydrogen bomb, faced rejection from Truman. Additionally, Strauss informs Oppenheimer that Klaus Fuchs, a member of the Manhattan Project, was a Soviet spy who provided information on their research and development efforts to the Soviets. Oppenheimer's stance against the continued development of nuclear weapons faces disapproval during the Cold War era. Strauss collaborates with Borden and Nichols to gather more damaging information on Oppenheimer throughout the security hearing. Meanwhile, Kitty becomes upset with Oppenheimer, suspecting that he is deliberately sabotaging himself to appear as a martyr due to his guilt over creating the atomic bomb. As Oppenheimer is interrogated by Roger Rabba, others like Teller, Robbie, Groves, and Posh provide testimonies about their interactions with him. Rabba presses Oppenheimer on when his views on nuclear weapons development changed, to which he responds that it happened when he realized that America would deploy any weapon necessary to secure victory at all costs. Due to the efforts of Teller and Groves, Oppenheimer is ultimately declared loyal to America. However, he faces the consequence of having his security clearance revoked, losing his political influence. Strauss, seeking a Senate position, is thwarted when former technician David Hill testifies against him, highlighting personal grievances, including a moment during another hearing where Oppenheimer referred to Strauss as more useful than a sandwich. As a result, Strauss loses his chance at the Senate, and his aide turns against him upon realizing his true intentions. The aide informs Strauss that JFK was against his actions. In a flash forward, Oppenheimer is seen having a conversation with Einstein before Strauss approaches them. Another flash forward to 1963 shows Oppenheimer receiving the Enrico Fermi Award from President Lyndon B. Johnson. During this discussion, they reflect on the potential implications of their work in nuclear weapons, speculating that it may have initiated a chain reaction that could doom the world. Oppenheimer envisions nuclear explosions worldwide, engulfing the planet in fire and ash, bringing the movie to an end. If you managed to get this far, we sincerely thank you for watching the whole thing. If you have a movie or TV show that you want us to cover, just comment it down below. We might do a video of it in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out our playlist for more recaps.